The most common question we get at Knock on Archery is which release is right for me? Because we offer releases in 3 different categories. A thumb activation, which is trigger activated. We have 2 different tension activated, which work from building pressure against the back wall of your cam and continuing to pull until it goes off. And also a hinge release, which works on movement and is commonly referred to as a back tension release. Now, all these are going to be used as a back tension release, but each one of these gives you the ability to have a different type of shot execution, but in the end, it gives you the ability to have a perfect shot. The most popular release we have is the Knock to It. This is the one that really put us on the map, and this is a trigger activated release that is activated using your thumb. It has a simple cocking button right here that you press. It automatically closes the jaw, and then the release will operate by building pressure on the thumb barrel. So the way this would work is you would come underneath, you would load it on a D-loop, and you would come to full draw. You would move your thumb into position and have a little bit of preload around that, and then pull the elbow to the back wall until you get a surprise release. Now, what separates the Knock to It from the other categories is the Knock to It gives you the ability to control your shot. So this allows you to determine how slow or how quickly it'll go off, because you have the ability to preload this trigger or preload your elbow to the rear wall of the cam, so that as you shape that trigger and you build that pressure, it'll either go off faster or slower. So depending on whether or not you're a target archer or a hunter and you want your shot to be patient and have more time on the aim, or in a hunting situation where things are happening fast and you need to have more pressure built on this release and you need it to execute when you need it to, the Knock to It gives you that ability. Now, one of the things that's awesome about this release as well is that it has the ability to be adjusted so that the trigger works off pressure and not travel. This is important because the Knock to It is such a precision trigger. This is as good of a quality. It has a dual sear mechanism that's the same quality as some of your highest end rifle triggers. So when this is cocked, your top tension screw allows you to adjust the amount of pressure it takes to fire this release without it having travel and movement that in the end is going to incorporate you into developing some type of a anticipation for that release when you're feeling that trigger moving and moving and moving. So the Knock to It gives you the ability to control your shot by how much preload you put on the trigger and also how much preload you're putting on your rear wall. So again, give you a quick look at this. If this was my bow loop, I would come underneath, I would cock it, which closes it on. I would draw my bow, I would anchor properly, shape my thumb, and then start to pull with my elbow behind me. The Knock to It and the Silverback series do come with a safety lanyard, so if you haven't ever shot a handheld release, you're able to use this lanyard and adjust it so that as you're learning this, you have the ability to stay safe with it. The next releases are going to be tension activated, and you really have 2 choices here. You either have the BackStrap, which is an index type tension release, or the Silverback, which is also a tension activated release, but the thumb is where the safety is, whereas on the index release, your trigger here is not actually an activation trigger if you have it in the back tension mode. This is a safety. The Silverback and the BackStrap series are tension activated releases, and these are single-handedly the most popular releases on the market for teaching people how to have a surprise, unanticipated shot, which in my opinion is the difference of archers being good and archers being great. The archers that are having surprise shots and the releases going off without them setting it off on purpose are the ones that are at the top of the game. So let me show you quick how this silverback would work. The silverback, once you close the jaw, you would load the jaw onto your D-loop, and from there, before you ever pull your bow, you have to press this trigger all the way down, because this doesn't set the release off. It actually works exactly the opposite. Holding this down prevents it from going off. So here's how this would work. I would hold this, draw my bow, and I would comfortably and safely be at my full draw position. And once I'm there and I have my pin on the target, now I'm going to let off my safety slowly, and I'm going to pull the tip of my elbow to the rear wall. I'm going to build more pressure against the cam when I'm at full draw. So let me show you here. I'd draw back, I would anchor, I would be in my pocket comfortably at full draw. Then I would let off my safety slowly, and I would continue to build pressure until that release gives me a surprise shot. Now the same activation is true with the BackStrap. Now this is a wrist strap version. So if you're a wrist strap shooter that uses an index finger and you're in the habit of flinching and forcing that shot off and having target panic, the BackStrap is such an awesome tool because this actually works the same as the Silverback, except the trigger is slightly different on the BackStrap because you're able to draw the bow, you're able to anchor the way that you want, and then you're going to squeeze the trigger all the way, and once you've squeezed the trigger, you will pull the elbow to the wall behind you until this release goes off. Now setting these releases to go off at the desired pressure is really simple. There's one screw on the BackStrap and there's one screw on the Silverback series. So what you have to do is you have to set this release to where it will go off once you've built about 3, 4, or 5 pounds more than what your bow's holding weight is. So if you have a 70-pound bow with an 80% let off, that means you're holding 14 pounds at full draw. Now if you set this to where once you let off your safety and you pull just a little bit more for that thing to go off once it hits 18, 19, or 20 pounds, then this now forces you to make a surprise shot. And this release really unlocks people's potential when you're struggling with target panic. It's a commitment, but it's a commitment that changes archers' lives. If you're struggling with target panic, then the Silverback and the BackStrap are both releases that the tension activation forces you to make that shot. Let me show you quick here. I'll show you how both these releases work. So I'm going to hold my safety down anytime I'm pulling back or anytime I'm letting down with the handheld Silverback. So I will draw back, I'll anchor, look through my peep, get on target, let off my safety slow, continue aiming and holding in the middle as I'm pulling until that shot goes off once I've built that predetermined pressure against the back wall. Now, I'll give you the same look with the BackStrap release. So for those of you who are wrist strap shooters, you can draw back like you normally would any index finger. You would anchor, acquire your peep. But now what you're going to do is you're going to take the slack out of your trigger, which will let the safety off. So I'm going to squeeze my trigger completely. Now I will pull against the back wall until I get a surprise shot. This is such a critical aspect of shooting archery, is having a surprise shot. The tension activated release, both the Silverback and the BackStrap, give you that ability. Now the next category I'm going to talk about is the Hinge release, which is commonly referred to as a back tension release. Now the way a hinge works is a hinge works from a head that pivots. Now the nice thing about the 2 Smooth is that this release actually has 2 moons, and it gives you the ability to not only adjust how fast or slow the release goes off, but it also gives you the ability to set this to where it gives you a click prior to that shot going off. So if you're worried about a premature shot going off because you haven't shot this, you can set it to where there is a click prior to the shot. I personally don't shoot a click, but I'll show you right now how I would shoot this 2 Smooth and how I do shoot the 2 Smooth for most of my summer. So the way the 2 Smooth works is, again, it's a pivoting release. It hinges just like this. As long as you're drawing back with your pressure on your index finger and your thumb, then this release won't fire. As soon as you add pressure to a middle finger or any type of ring finger pressure, and that release will start to pivot and it's going to go off. So give you a quick look right here. I would draw back with my middle finger off the release. I would draw back using the thumb post and my index finger. I would anchor properly. Then I would move my middle finger into position, and I'm going to continue to rotate that middle finger and let that rock just like that until that shot goes off with the total surprise. So there's 3 different ways to activate these releases. So the question is, depending on that type of activation, what is it that you're looking for in a release? So I'm going to start here with the hinge activation, and what I'm going to tell you about a hinge is that a hinge teaches you to be patient. It teaches you to slow that movement down, to aim a little bit steadier, and it gives you the ability to slowly move your hand and wait on the target until you've properly moved this release to get that execution to go off. Now what separates this release from the tension releases is the tension releases are going to go off once you've built enough pressure to get that surprise shot. This is such a critical component because the reason some people don't shoot super good groups with archery is because they have an inconsistency at full draw with how much pressure they're pulling and trusting their pin to float in the middle of that target as they're going through those motions to get that surprise shot. So with the Silverback, it forces you to learn to let off your safety, get your pin in the middle, and keep pulling and keep pulling. And what you're going to find is if you're inconsistent with how hard you pull on your bow, if you're creeping in your valley and don't know it, or if you're super hard sometimes against the wall and don't know it, or if you're trying to let off the trigger and make your shot go at that instant, then this isn't going to allow you to do that. So this release is going to make you have control of your shot again. If you don't have control, then this thing is going to make you have the control by teaching you to continue to pull with the same pressure against your back wall each and every shot. So I'll give you a look here with the Silverback, how this would look. So again, I would, finger is on the safety. drawing back, anchoring, looking through my peep. My pin's in the middle of the target and it's moving around, but that's okay. I'm going to let off my safety, and now my elbow is pulling to the back wall, pulling harder on the cam until I get that shot to break. So this is such an awesome tool for teaching you how to have a surprise shot and what a surprise shot feels like. So then if you ever decide to go to a thumb activated release where the thumb barrel is simply a trigger, pressure causes activation, well, now what you can do is incorporate that same exact technique, and you can comfortably draw your bow, anchor, looking through the peep, pins on the target. I'm shaping the release, but now I'm pulling my elbow just like I did with the Silverback, and pulling until I get that surprise shot using a thumb trigger. Now here is where the hinge comes in. So with the hinge teaches you to slow down your pull a little bit more. Trust the float a little bit more. Slow things down a little bit more and be a little bit more precise with the aim and with the control. So the knock to it gives you control. The Silverback teaches you how to have control and how to properly activate with a surprise shot. But a too smooth teaches you how to be patient in the pocket, trust that float, and continually to slowly build that pressure until you get that exact same execution. So with the hinge, I'm going to anchor, look through my peep, on target, I'm floating around, that's cool. I'm taking my middle finger, shaping the release a little bit. Now I'm starting to pull the elbow and add a little bit of pressure to the middle, and then the release goes off. So as you can see, we have 4 different releases in 3 different categories, but they all give you a perfect shot. So what is it that you're looking for? Are you looking to have control and a great handheld release that's going to give you great groups and allow you to just cock it, close it on a D-loop, shape your thumb and pull? Or are you looking to overcome target anticipation, learn to be able to put your pin on the target again and go through a process until that release goes off and you have an unanticipated surprise shot? Or are you comfortable with having a surprise shot, and now what you're looking to do is to be more patient on the target, slow the float, be more methodical, and really focus on target quality accuracy? That's what these 3 different categories give you the choice of. I personally shoot all these releases at different points of the year, because in the end, every single one of them are the building blocks and the foundation to putting an arrow in the middle as many times as I possibly can. So if I'm ever shooting a knock to it and I feel like maybe I'm starting to get a little bit jumpy with my thumb trigger, I'll immediately go to a BackStrap or a Silverback to where I can draw back with my finger on the safety, be able to let off that safety and trust that float as I'm pulling to get that more dynamic feel. And once all those things have come together and I really want to focus on downrange accuracy, slowing that float, I can switch over to a too smooth and I can get that exact same thing. One of the things that we do is we offer a mini in the Silverback and the knock to it. The mini has a smaller hole and a smaller profile for people with smaller hands. If you're wondering what size is best for you, it's easiest to think of what size glove do you wear. If you wear a small medium glove, then the mini is going to be a perfect fit for you. If you wear a large, extra large glove, then the regular sizes will be perfect for you. Now, I personally, during my winter training where I'm not using any hunting gloves, I have medium-sized hands, and I actually prefer the mini just because I can put my finger in here, and because that hole is a little bit smaller, it doesn't allow me to go into the release too far. Now, each of these releases will come with a package and a video series that's going to help you in determining how to properly shoot that release with proper technique based on the choice that you make of which release is right for you. But each release will have a video series that gives you all the tips and all the pointers to find that perfect shot.